Position of an honorary research fellow at the University of Liverpool and serves as a research project manager for AI for multiple long-term conditions at the Alan Turing Institute. Batool's commitment to open science is evident in her leadership of this open science community in Saudi Arabia, OSCA, which aims to introduce and contextualize open science practices in Arabic-speaking countries. She also plays a pivotal role as a content subject matter expert in the NASA's Transform to Open Science TOPS initiative. And without further ado, the floor is yours, Dr. Batool. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you for joining the session. I will be reflecting on some of the discussion that we had yesterday. I'm going to talk about our experience in building a grassroots initiative in Saudi Arabia. Also, I'm going to give 2 examples of projects that I've been involved with within the UK. Just a heads up, I do speak pretty fast and my pronunciation is not the best. So if you have struggled with my pronunciation, just let me know. Okay, so before I start, I just want to mention I came from academic background, so I'm not a librarian, and I was trained as a pharmacologist. So the reason that I'm mentioning this is that I approach open science in a very, very different way. I don't approach it through open access. I approach it through the replication crisis, which I'll be mentioning later a bit. It can be a bit repetitive if you did listen to my talk last year, but the reason I'm mentioning it again is because there was no mention at all yesterday to the replication crisis. I'm based in the UK, so I work for the Turing Institute. Let me just try and, I think I got some slide, yeah. So I work for the Turing Institute, which is the National Institution for AI and Data Science in the UK. I'm going to speak about 2 of the projects that I've been involved with them. But I come to this conference, as I mentioned, mainly to speak about this grassroots initiative, which is the Open Science Community Saudi Arabia. So, as I mentioned, I'm mostly interested in the contextualization of open science in the Arab region and how we can leverage open science for the less resourced countries in the region. I've been active in different initiatives, including the International Association of Universities, which is created under the UNESCO's in the 50s. So what are we going to speak about? I'm going to cover the motivation of open science. This is mostly focusing in the replication crisis. I'm also going to mention what is knowledge-based economy is about, what is the cost-benefit analysis around open science infrastructure, and when does open science go wrong, because it does, and how we can navigate the culture change through open science with the 3 examples, 2 from the UK, 1 from Saudi. So let's get started. So when we go into science as scientists, because we're very, very excited about like new finding and new innovation and new results. And the way that science works basically is you validate other people's work and you build on the top of it. So you can think of science or each paper or each study as a building block of science. And when a block has a problem, if them has a problem, it becomes impossible to build in the top of it. Some might think that this should not be an issue in science because simply we go through very, very thorough peer review process before we publish in these high impact factor journals. But in reality, this is not the case. So we have in science something called replication crisis. So many of the published research cannot be replicated. And that means we fail to build in the top of it. Again, I'm speaking about high impact factor journals. And this is not me claiming it. In this graph, this is a study that's been done by Nature. It shows you like over 50% of the scientists believe this is a huge crisis when it comes to replication. So what I want to mention, let's see if this working. So yeah, replication crisis is really central to the movement of open science. You can't mention open science, for me at least, without mentioning this replication crisis. And the problem does not only affect scientists, academic like me, it affects economy. So billions of funds go to waste because this crisis have been in all discipline, in quantitative, qualitative research. And one of the early actually concerns that came was from the pharmaceutical industry, which you've seen. So what they've seen in the pharma, that most of what reported in the literature about a drug target cannot be validated in the industry. So the resources go to waste, funds go to waste. This is both industry and academia. There is many research that have been done around the replication crisis. If you write in Google, you will get so many scary numbers about how our science in the current form actually irreproducible and how much billions is wasted in this process. And there's a lot of research went into it. And they ended up that the conclusion that reproducibility require openness. You can't have reproducible research without having open research. And one thing that's very important to realize actually that in many countries, these concerns have reached very high level. It reached governmental officials, parliament, like this inquiry in the UK at least. So this is not something that only academics are concerned with. This is something that has a wider implication in policies and funding and economy. I just want to circulate back to some of the conversation probably that we had about incentives and research assessment yesterday. So academia, the way we do science has evolved throughout the last centuries, but the way that we assess actually science, incentivize research is still the same, and that's part of the problem that we are here. So BIs, postdocs are assessed by the quantity of publication in high impact factors, to be able to have this grant. And without the grant, obviously, they can't get promoted. So there's this very intense pressure to publish without considering this broader implication. And this is why we have highly competitive environment that care about the end product. It encourage researcher to create narrative and report only positive result without any negative result, which is impossible. So this has been a huge problem in the West. And what makes it even more complex is that scientific publishing industry, as we mentioned yesterday in the West, is million-pound industry that's not very easy to reshape. So we understand why this is a problem in the West. But what makes it really worse is that we, as in a different region, like the Arab region, as usual, very late in the game, we came in, we're trying to mirror that Western model in a very radical way without even realizing that that model actually is dysfunctional, is no longer effective. And this is very risky because we end up with academic culture that is very toxic, and even a culture that refuses to collaborate with its peers. So when you actually look to the open science route, you go back to the Free Software Foundation, the Open Source Initiative, the Creative Commons, the Open Knowledge Foundation, the Mozilla, the Open Access. You see that open science is all about the culture of transparency. It's about shifting value, about creating value from knowledge beyond the West, beyond the global North. So just in case, let's skip this one for the time. Just in case for people who knew about open science is a huge umbrella. It's not, as we mentioned, it's not just open access, open source, open hardware, fair data. It's not about open data. We don't open data irresponsibly. It has to be fair. It's about open peer review, infrastructure, licenses, registered report. So by the way, registered report is very interesting concept. Invite you all to explore if you're not familiar with it. It does emphasize the importance of the research question and methodology rather than the end results. But a lot of the discussion yesterday actually is about sharing data, sharing resources, sharing infrastructure. But open science is not just about sharing. And I think we missed that in conversation yesterday. Open science is about co-creation. So making science more accessible, more inclusive, using citizen science. And I'm going to give an example what that looks like. So at this point, we should be able to agree that open science means better science, more increased impact of the science, more active collaboration of the general public in the research process. And this is what I care about But probably policymakers in the room should know that investment also in open science has a huge, huge return. There's a lot of cost-benefit analysis that's been done in the West about not having a fair infrastructure, not having open infrastructure. This costs for the European Commission at least 10.2 billion per year, and this is just at least. And this is not going to be really a very different figure when you do it in our region, if not more. So open science has really huge, huge investment in science, but also at the same time, open science can easily go wrong. So we all know about that the UNESCO has asked all the member states to report about open science within 2 years. And what concerns me actually is that open science becomes more like a checkbox to tick off, because once you do that, the true essence of open science is gone. And I've seen that done a lot. So when open science becomes like a buzzword or trend, like what you see sometimes, the foundational value undermined, it's not open science anymore. Open science is more about transparency, about collaboration, about inclusive research. So I love this actually quote by Robert Kelly, the head of open research at Wellcome Trust, say, open science is rewriting how we do academic research. He called it culture revolution. And he said, it's all about embracing transparency. So maybe a lot of people ask actually how you can, if we say that we want to do culture change, how we can measure culture change. I'm not going to go much detail into it just for the sake of time. Happy to chat about it, but there's different model how you can actually measure impact and culture change. And what we use something called theory of change. I was going to go in more detail, but I think I don't have time. But what we do here is we try to link between activities and also the impact that we're trying to do. So they know both disconnected. So you can say that I want to create seminars, event, but without realizing how that connected with your short-term outcome and long-term outcome, and what kind of threshold means success is very easy to get lost. So yeah, I want to give 3 examples about 3 projects that are attempting to do some culture change. There's no theory of change published for them, but at least 2 of them will be published very soon. The MRSF, AI for multiple long-term conditions, and the open science community. So both have a theory of change, but it's not published yet. I'm going to start with the Turing Way. So Turing Way is a project that been created in the UK in the Turing Institute, and it was meant to help to change the culture of data science. So when you look at it or try to access it with the website that's not shown now, but basically when you look at it, you think it's a normal just ebook. That's not the case, because what makes this project more powerful is not that anyone can contribute, anyone can add content to the book with minimal sort of experience around open science, but also it's written in a language that you don't need to be a data scientist to understand it. You don't need to know anything about technical jargon to be able to access it, to understand what AI means. So we define it as a community. It has around over 200 contributors from around the globe. Anyone can read, reuse, distribute, modify, develop it. It's built through open infrastructure. And the book has go beyond that. It did influence policymakers in the region. It was used as the best practice use case in the Goldrees Review. If you don't know the Goldrees Review, this is commissioned by the State of Health and Social Care in the UK. It was cited in the Mayor of London Adopted Charter. It was cited also in a different discipline, influenced different policies outside the UK. It won also different awards. And there's many ways that people get to actually participate in the Turing Way. They can get involved in so many events. There's a huge community from different countries, from the global south and the global north. One of them is about everything we do is hybrid in different time zones, and we have local hubs in many countries. So if you're interested, we can talk about it and chat about it later. The second project that I want to talk about is this very, very long name, AI for Multiple Long-Term Conditions Research Support Facility. We say MRSF, but you can think about it as We support a community who use an AI to work with health data. So as you may know, health data is very, very hard to access, very, very hard to use. And this is basically around 27 universities, 12 NHS trusts, a lot of charities, city councils within the UK. And it's a huge investment. So it's been a huge investment from the UK government. I don't want to go into too much detail, what sort of infrastructure, what sort of research data they've been used, what sort of community building with ECR they've been doing. What actually I want to focus on is that open science is not just about sharing, it's not about infrastructure, it's not about data, it's about co-creation. So patient co-create the research with the researcher and the AI scientist. Patient actively involved from the very, very beginning. We don't think about patient, about public as the end stage to validate or test. We involve them from the very, very beginning. And this is incentivized also by the funders. So the funders in the UK would incentivize the researcher if they try to use that method rather than using patient at the very, very end. They consulted from the very beginning, from the research design, from participating in advisory board, for example, in the creation. Another thing also I want to focus on is the sustainability and legacy. So most of this project is a grant limited. So it's a grant for 3 years. What happened after that? What sort of sustainability we have? So we work with policies makers as stakeholders, maximize that clinical and academic output. We don't want to have just academic paper published in journals. We want to have a tangible impact that deployed in a clinic, for example. The last example I want to touch on is the Open Science Community Saudi Arabia. And again, this is a grassroots initiative. It's volunteer community. It's bottom-up initiative that based in Saudi. And it's a community of practice, actually, that provide a place for newcomers and also provide feedback around infrastructure, support services. It's not meant to be isolated. It's not meant to be alone in the region. The idea is to leverage this huge community that we have. Let me see. Yeah, so this is a huge, huge community that we have in Europe around open science. And connect folks with each other, especially ECR, especially early career research. We want to focus, so you see a lot, so the network started in the Netherlands, but is continuing to have different communities even inside Europe. But we work with also different communities like eLife Ambassadors, Open Life Science, the Carpentries, our community. I want to say that what we're trying to focus on in the community, because open science is a huge, huge umbrella, is how ECR can create open innovation. How can they use open source? What is the verification landscape? How can researchers, for example, protect their data and code when making it open using open license? Because a lot of researchers don't understand or know about open license, and how to create open education resources. And this is just some examples for our members participating in talk, workshops in many global organizations like Carpentries, eLife, Outreach, Women in Data Science, NASA. It's actually not updated. We work with institutions, very, very quickly, just want to mention that we work with institutions, researchers, free of charge, just to train researchers to use and make the research more open and reproducible. A lot of workshop talks being given Saudi FDA, National Guard, Faisal universities. There's more activities here. I don't want to go more detail into it, just I'm very conscious of the time. But so we do have also online open courses that I think the slide is not updated, but it's fine. But this is a platform where we try also to teach open science, and everything that we create is open source. So you can see the progress, the front end and the back end, both of them open source in the GitHub. We also working with Berlin. So this is about a conference that we're working in about the FAIR digital object, which is actually a very also important concept in open science. Our work mainly around creating a space for newbies, so people who are not familiar with these concepts and how to understand it and how to get to participate in this kind of conference. And if this is of interest, if you also get in touch. As I mentioned, we're a community of practice. It's open to any nationality. Anyone can reuse its resources. You're very actually encouraged to reuse the resources. And at the very, very end, I will skip this, yeah. This one has an Arabic as well. I just want to say that open science is not a trend. It's not a buzzword. It's not a checkbox to tick off in the reporting. It's really a shift of how we do research. It is a culture change that we should be championing. And I hope I did not go over the time. I think I did. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Batool. This is amazing. We're very lucky to have you with us today. A very interesting topic. Moving on, we've got two presenters again, and I mean, they're on the cutting edge of AI, and I'm very much personally looking forward to your presentation. So we have Dr. Nikesh from Zayed University. Nikesh is the Information Technology Librarian at Zayed University. He previously served as an EBSCO discovery engineer. He is a library systems expert focusing on web-scale discovery solutions, LSPs, ILS implementations, remote access repositories, and institutional ORCID API implementations. Yrjo is also from Zayed. He's the assistant professor and data services librarian at Zayed University Library, Learning Commons, Dubai, UAE. He has a master's degree in information studies, interactive media, and from Finland, with wide-ranging experience in research information systems, repository, scholarly communication, open science, and research data management and research evaluation, amongst many other things. Without further ado, the floor is yours. I think you're joint with the presentation, so thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Amina, for the kind introduction. My name is Yrjo, and this is my colleague Nikesh. We are both from the Zayed University Library, based here in the UAE. So we are here to present the preliminary results of our study. We are looking into the citation impact of open access publications in this region. And we are still in the early stages of this study. So we are also hoping to get some ideas from the audience on where to take this study next. Okay, so the idea is to look into the citation impact. So first of all, look at the numbers. So the proportion of open access publications originating from this region. And also a little bit about the growth trend, and then compare the citation impact of open access to other paywalled articles. And finally, look at the differences between these different open access types. So gold, hybrid, green, and bronze open access. So this is a bibliometric study, and we used Scopus and Cyval databases to get our datasets. And we have a time frame of 3 years, starting from 2020 until 22. And the focus is on these Middle East countries as defined in Scopus and Cyval. Okay, so first, the overall numbers. So if we put all the output together, everything from this region, you can see that there's about 800,000 publications total. And you can see the percentages here. So 45.68% are open in any type of open access. So you can see that the majority is still behind paywalls, 54%, but the region as a whole is slowly approaching this halfway point. Then these are the proportions by country. So these are organized by the number of scholarly output. So you can see the big countries at the top: Iran, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Egypt. So these are the total numbers, and you can see the open access percentage for each country here. I will go into more details on the other slides. So here you can see the open access percentage by country. So we can see Saudi Arabia and Qatar at the top. Then it's followed by Egypt, Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, and Iraq, also over 50%. And we can see here that UAE is actually a little bit behind with 48%. So if you know anything about the spirit of this country, we don't like to lag behind. So there's obviously some work to do for UAE organizations and institutions as well. Then we took a look at the growth as well. So you can see these are the absolute numbers. So in 2020, the Middle East region as a whole had a 42% open access. And you can see that in 22, it's already 47%. So, and if we compare to the world has grown a little bit from 46 to 47%. And here you can see UAE. If you take a look at last year, it's actually already almost 50%. So it's the year 2020 that is pulling the statistic down a little bit. So it doesn't look so bad anymore if we take a look at last year. Then we took a look at these different types of open access. So I'm sure I don't need to introduce these types here to this audience anymore. So gold, green, bronze, and hybrid. So we can see that there's some growth in gold, especially. So from 37.5 to 43.5%. And green open access has stayed almost the same, so 40% during this time. And bronze open access, this is maybe a little bit lesser known. So these are articles that are on publishers' websites, but they don't have the license, the open license. So they are openly and freely available, but the licensing is unclear. And also it depends on the publisher, how long they are open. Some people actually don't consider bronze open access to be open at all. So there's been a decrease in this from 16% to 10%. And then finally we have the hybrids. So some increase from here as well. So from 4.6 to 5.8. Then we took a look at the distribution by country. So this can be interesting because you can see some trends here. So once again, Saudi Arabia, Qatar at the top. So there's the total open access percentage, but we can see some differences between these countries. So for example, in Saudi Arabia, the biggest category is gold with 42%. And then green open access in self-archived in repositories is 33%. And then, for example, in Qatar, it's the other way around. So the green share is quite big. It's the biggest of these countries, so 44%. And we just heard this morning Dr. El Walid's presentation about the efforts in Qatar. So it's clearly visible in these statistics as well. Qatar also has a high number of hybrids. That's 11%. Then other countries like Lebanon, Israel also have high percentages of green. And then Iraq is a little bit different here. It has the highest percentage of bronze and also the lowest of green open access. So, but still the overall percentage is 51. So for example, if Iraq increased the number of green open access, it would easily climb on this list as well. Then here is the citation impact. So Nikesh will talk more about this soon. But this is the overall. You can see that there's a huge difference here. So if we take all the articles, and here we have the number of citations, we have 7.7 citations per publication. And if we compare the closed ones and the open ones, we can see that the closed ones have 3.12 and open access have 13.14. So obviously there's a huge difference here between these categories. And the obvious reason, of course, is that these are more accessible and visible to readers, and also more likely to be downloaded and shared. And especially if there's the Creative Commons license, it can be shared anywhere. And these gold and hybrid articles are also immediately available without any embargoes. So Nikesh will continue here with more specific details.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Yrjo. So Yrjo has explained about the general citation advantage of open access publications. I will look into more details of OA models. So you can see here, I have given it in red color. A hybrid gold open access have definite advantage over other open access models like bronze, gold, green. And you can see here citation per publication is 14.6 and field cited impact is 1.95. They are ahead than other models. And we have also noticed hybrid open access journals are highly ranked. If you look at the figure here, 36.1% of hybrid gold articles are published in top 10% journals. So here is the most important factor. So when you publish in highly ranked journals, definitely you will get more citation. This factor is established in other studies also. So that's the same result we are also showing here. And as a result, you can see 23.9% of hybrid gold articles are included in top 10% of the cited articles. So most important thing, hybrid gold open access journals are highly ranked and they are getting more citation. So next factor is international collaboration. So in this area also hybrid gold has more advantage over other open access models. And there are some studies that establish that when you have more international collaboration, the chances of getting citations are more. So the same factor is established here also. And these are some of the possible reasons for getting more citation for gold open access journals. The first thing is that it's an open access model. So open access model definitely get more citation. The second thing is that, it is part of some prestigious databases. For example, it's a hybrid model, Elsevier Springer. I don't want to name the databases. So in that way also, these articles would get citation. Actually, the main reason is that the more number of hybrid journals are very highly ranked. The reason we assume that publishers are very reluctant to give away their top ranked journals to other routes like fully gold open access. Because when it goes to fully open access, they can get money only from the APC. Otherwise, if it is hybrid model, the publishers would get income from both APC and subscription. So this is one of the reasons. And other reasons are, the networking effect and prestige value. Researchers still consider hybrid or subscription journals have some prestigious value when it is included in prestigious databases. So these are some of the reasons for getting more citations. And we have also noticed that when the researchers get OA fund from their institutes, they tend to publish more in hybrid journals. The reason is very simple. Hybrid journals are highly ranked compared to other OA models. So when I get some money from my institution for OA publishing, I will definitely select highly ranked journals. And since hybrid journals are highly ranked, they get more publications. So here we have listed top 10 institutions across the Middle East, which publishes more number of hybrid OA journals. And all of these institutions provide OA support to their researchers. That means when the researchers get OA support, they tend to publish more in hybrid journals. So these are from various countries, Qatar, Israel, Saudi Arabia, etc. So the next one is green open access. So we have seen that hybrid gold is number 1 and number 2 is green open access. The reason again, if I don't have money to publish in open access journals, if I don't have money to pay the APC, I will look always for the next alternative option. Next option is green open access. So at least I can put my study in my repository or in my personal website, etc. So that's the reason that gold open access journals get more citations. 2 things: it's you can access through a repository, and it's also part of the subscription databases, prestigious subscription databases. Now we have analyzed, or we have found some discussion points here. The first point is about hybrid OA journals. I have already mentioned about that. Hybrid OA journals are highly ranked, and hybrid OA journals get more citation, and researchers publish more in hybrid OA journals when they receive institutional support. This is what we analyzed from our study, and these are some of the reasons that we have found, that possible reasons. We haven't done research on this; it's an assumption only. And we have studied some other articles also, and we found these reasons. And the second discussion is gold open access as the pure, full gold open access has less citation impact. I have already mentioned the reason. Publishers are reluctant to give away their top journals to this route. And also there are some new journals in this route, but that would get time to get its prestige value. So the users, the authors definitely select the highly ranked journals. That might be one of the reasons. And the third discussion is green OA is second behind hybrid gold in terms of citation impact and ranking of journals. So institutions need to support green OA journals. How can we promote? These are some of the ways that we can promote. Establish an institutional repository and institutional policies and mandates, advocate for open access principles, collaboration with publishers, etc., and promotion and outreach. And here is the last point, only 2 minutes I'll take. Double dipping in a hybrid OA, these are some of the challenges. Double dipping means the hybrid OA journals are subscription journals, right? And when our researchers publish in hybrid journals, we need to pay the APC again. So we are paying the APC, and also we are paying the subscription cost. So it's a double dipping. So, and we have seen that hybrid journals are highly ranked. So when we go for agreement with publishers, the library should take utmost care to safeguard our interest. So our request is these kind of forums should help the libraries to reach the agreement that safeguard the interest of the libraries. So otherwise, usually publishers give some discount for the APC. Actually, that is not enough for hybrid journals because you are paying the subscription cost plus APC. So that would be a loss for the library. So we should take utmost care. So that's our advice and our request. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you for this interesting discussion. Yeah, it's a very hot topic at the moment. On to our last speaker for today, for this session, Dr. Halima Sabah. Dr. Halima is an associate professor and senior public health nutrition specialist at the Public Health Department, College of Health Sciences, Abu Dhabi University. She's also a principal investigator and leader for several research grants, has published numerous number of articles in scientific peer-reviewed journals, and serves as a guest editor in Frontier Nutrition and Frontier in Public Health. An editorial board member and reviewer for several well-known reputed peer-reviewed journals. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending my presentation, and thanks for the organizer and also the scientific committee for accepting my proposal to be presented also today. So today what I will present is about building and sustaining communities of practice in Arab-speaking countries. Maybe it's like one of my dreams to get the collaboration with all Arab countries and to do also some kinds of work like research. So, we go. Yeah, okay. Okay, so this presentation, it will outline the comprehensive framework for building and sustaining communities of practice, including also key strategies for building and sustaining communities of practice in Arab regions. And also it aims to highlight the importance of establishing and nurturing also communities, communication and communities of practice in Arabic-speaking countries. So what is a community of practice? If we want to define the community of a practice, so community of a practice, it means that there are a group of people that they have a common interest, common goal, common objectives that they want to achieve this goal. Okay, for example, in health, we have people, they are interested in specific topic, then they can collaborate together. And also collaborating regularly to improve also the skills and the knowledge and the foster also of learning and innovation. So what are the benefits of community of practice? Is to have knowledge sharing, like what we have here, for example, and problem solving. When we have any problems, then when we share it and when we discuss it, then we can able also to solve the problem. Professional development and networking. Here, for example, all of you also have at least one or two networking with other organization, with other people, and also innovation. So by promoting the creation of and sustenance of community of practice, we also can enhance the professional growth, cultural exchange, and other also collaboration in Arab-speaking countries. So why we focus on communities of practice? Because we have also values for that, long-term values and short-term values. And it is also at the personal or the member level and the organization level. For example, at the short-term value at the member level, that help with challenges, access, expertise, confidence, fun, for example, like what we have here. Sometimes we are collaborating and having also some kinds of fun in networking and knowing each other is also more, meeting also the meaningful work. We can appreciate what we are doing. And at the organizational level, problem solving, when we do the networking also, time saving, we learn also knowledge sharing, synergies also across sectors and districts, reuse of resources. And at the long-term values, we have the personal development, enhance reputation, professional identity, and networking. And at the organizational level, also, we have the strategic collaboration, keeping up to date information and innovation, and also retention of talents and new strategies. So the importance of a community of practice in knowledge sharing also, it provides shared context for people to communicate and share information, stories, and personal experience in a way that build also understanding the insights, and it enable also dialogue, that like what we have also, dialogue between people come together to explore new ideas, new possibilities, solve also challenges, and create new and mutually beneficial opportunities. So what are the steps to build the collaboration also? It's to identify the community's purposes. First of all, we have to identify the problems. What are the problems, or what are the issues, and then prioritize them. And then we have to have an objectives or purpose. And then we need also to recruit community members, or who will be the leaders, and find the like-minded individuals, and then establish communication platform, and encourage also participation and share knowledge and experiences. But we have challenges also in building the COB. What are these challenges? Language barriers, for example. Many people, they shy to speak in Arabic. And some people also, they don't know how to speak in Arabic, although they are living in Arab countries. And cultural differences, for example, in Gulf, in Moroccan countries also, in the Bilad al-Sham, also there are some differences. So technology accessibility, for example, one of my colleagues also yesterday, he mentioned the accessibility to technology. There are differences between developed and developing countries to access the technology, and resistance also to change, because some people, they don't want to change. They have this routine and they don't want to change also to be updated with the technology. So how to overcome these challenges? First, we need to provide also multilingual resources and promote cultural sensitivity, use accessibility to technology, and offer technical and support. And also the objectives for that also, we need to establish COB platforms, cultivating also COB leaders, encouraging Arabic language content, also organizing regional event conferences and workshops like what we have here, but I hope that it will be a sustainable event. It's not only one-time event. And also organizing regional events and recognizing and rewarding contribution. So recognition is very important to feel that you have a value for your work also. Collaboration with existing networks and research and evaluation. So I will speak about every point separately. So regarding the establishing of COB platforms, to develop online platforms, and I will also discuss a case study from my own experience regarding the platform, and develop social networks, facilitate COB also interaction and knowledge sharing, brainstorming, different ways of collaboration in Arabic speaking countries, and this will provide a core hub for professionals to connect, exchange professional ideas, and access also to relevant and reliable sources, because as we know that in the internet, we can have access to a lot of information, but what we need is the reliable and valid information. So cultivating also COB leaders, we need to identify people who are committed, who are leaders, who can drive the engagement and moderate the discussion and facilitate the knowledge transfer within their own communities and country, and offer also training membership program to enhance their leadership and the skills and ensure the sustainability of the collaboration. Encouraging the Arabic speaking content. So we need to promote and disseminate the Arabic speaking language that it is relevant also. Encourage professionals to contribute articles, case studies, and research papers to the entire, to enrich also their knowledge and promote local expertise, because we have also many experts, but they don't know how to use the language in English. So we need also to help them. We need also to promote our Arabic language. Also, we need to organizing regional events, as mentioned. For example, this event happens in UAE this time in order to keep the sustainability. Maybe next time in Qatar, the other time in Bahrain, the other time in Jordan, whatever, in order to keep the sustainability. And this also platform to conduct regular regional event, even if it is in person or if it is also online, and to keep the networking, the collaboration also, and to overcome the challenges. Recognizing also and rewarding contribution is very important in order to get the motivation for the members of the collaborators, either by certificates, opportunities, other reinforcing also programs, sorry. Okay. Also, what we need also to collaborate with existing networks. I saw yesterday some of our colleagues who showed me their initiatives in their own countries. So if we can collaborate with them, network with them, then it will also, it will be also strengthen our collaboration. Also research evaluation to conduct and evaluate studies to assess also the importance of and effectiveness of COPs in Arabic speaking countries, and monitor participation rate, knowledge exchange metric, and also adoption of the COP driven innovation to sustain the continuous improvement of the program. So sustaining the COP, we need to contribute continuous engagement. We need leadership support. We need recognition and rewards and evaluation and adaptation. So from my own success stories during COVID-19, for example, I have been contacted from my colleagues in Belgium in order to collaborate with them in a big project, international project regarding COVID-19, the impact of COVID-19 on people, lifestyle, and other also aspects of life. So they want me to collaborate as a representative for UAE and Palestine. Then I suggested that we can have other also Arab countries. So I tried to coordinate with 10 Arab countries in order to be involved in this big international project. More than 38 countries in the world, they participate on that. But we have 10 Arab countries also participating on that. And we published from this project about 10 articles, and still we are still publishing. And also other, we have also other 4 big projects between these Arab countries, and we added other questions that are specific to our Arab countries. Sorry, I did not, okay. So these are the countries that collaborate also in this project. And we have Palestine, we have Lebanon, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Tunis, Morocco, Egypt. And also we informed the WHO. So the WHO also, they adopt the project and help us and support us. And we start also other projects with the WHO after that. So this case study also other case study is about my own experience in Belgium, because I was doing my PhD in Belgium, and it was in health behavior for school-age children. So at that time, when I was working with them, there was 43 countries collaborating in this project, and now they have 51 countries, they are participating in this project. It's an international project, but I was belonging on the Belgium team. So the broad aim of the health behavior for school children was to increase the understanding of young people's health and well-being and health behavior and their social context, and to influence policy and practice and at national and international levels. So the background for this project was that health behavior for school-age children started with only 3 countries. They initiated that, it was in 1982. And every time they have also other countries, they participate and they are included in this project. And the WHO also adopt this project, and it becomes like a WHO project, but it is at the European countries. No Arab countries are included in this project. That's why I'm presenting here to have like an example, if we can do similar things in different fields, and not only in health. So surveys also conducted every 4 years, for example, so to have the trends or the improvement in the situation in different countries. The method was school-based students, self-completed questionnaire. A class was the sample, and there was 3 age groups, 11.5, 13.5, and 15.5 years. Why we select also these age groups? Because these are the new generation for or the future generation for their communities. That's why we selected these ages. And also, the survey was have 2 components, one for about the health and behavior, and the second one was about social and development context. And these are also the key measures or the variables for each component. And as I mentioned that now we have more than 51 countries participating in this project. So they have this platform. For example, if you can, this one, yeah. If you can see here, for example, they have this the overview about the project, the countries who participate in this project, and how to become a member in this project. You have to also to complete a form and to send it to the organizer in order to accept you as a member. And the survey data, the publication, since they started till now, they have the publication. Even my publication, they are included in this publication also platform, and the contacts also, and the links, and how to become a member, as I mentioned. And there is a member area that you need a password and username in order to enter the member area. It's not allowed for everybody, but there is a public area and also member area. So this is also, if you go through each component. And also at that time, I was a member of, because they also categorize all the members into specific categories according to their specialty. Yani, for example, there are focus groups, there are writing groups, there are behavioral groups. At that time also, I was belonging, sorry. Oh, I can return it back. Ah, okay. So there are here also different groups. I was belonging to the obesity, I was sharing this. So the obesity groups here. Each group, they have a coordinator or a leader. So if we, for example, according to the specialty, then we have the groups or subgroups, and then we have like a leader or a coordinator for each group in order also to work on the survey and the protocol. Here, for example, also I can show you one of the events that I attended in Malta. It was in Malta. And every year, imagine that we have now 51 countries, that every year they have to go to a different country. So the inviting country, they host the event, and also they participate in the health behavior for school children. And each country, they have their own website in addition to the also the general website. Sorry. Here I can show you that also I was belonging also to the Belgian groups, a member in the obesity writing group. I was in this group, Belgium group. Okay, so this is about also, you can go through all the publication, and you can see also all the publication by years. They are divided by years, and the reports also that it is also submitted to the WHO. Okay, these are the publications. And I published also my thesis and published several articles. And one of the articles is about also body weight dissatisfaction and communication with parents among 24 countries. So if anyone wants also to participate or to analyze the data, they have also to submit a form. What is the objective? What is the what variables that they need? So the PI, they can submit also this form to the database coordinator, which is in Bergen at Bergen University, in order to give you the data and to analyze the data either for master students, PhD students, postdoctorate, or for your own also publication. So here is the website that you can go through. I'm not sure if we can go through this website, if you can open it, just to show that, yeah, because can I click that? Okay. So if we can go, for example, to the publication, just to show the audience the publication by years. Can you go through the publication, the second item? The publications, yes, here, this one. Can you go through, because this is the news, yes. Go by journals, for example, to journal articles. Scroll down, down. Then you can see here, for example, by years. If you go down by years, can you go down by years? Can you go down the years? Go, for example, to 2009. I can show you my work here. 2009. Then you can see that I have two publications in 2009 when I was also working in Belgium. This is just an example in order, for example, to think about it, to think about our collaboration, our future project. Okay. And I can see now, thank you. Okay. Can we go to the presentation again? Back to the presentation. Okay, now in conclusion, can you? Okay, so in conclusion, by investing in the establishment and sustainability, because it's very important to sustain, not only to meet and to have the events, sustainability of communities of practice in Arabic-speaking countries, we can also foster professional growth, promote collaboration, and enhance knowledge sharing within these communities. And through strategic initiatives also, such as developing online platforms cultivating اللي هي also leaders, organizing regional event, and recognizing contributions, we can create a vibrant also and inclusive ecosystem that benefits the professional across diverse domains. Thank you so much. This is my, sorry.
If anybody has any questions from our current presenter or previous presenters.
I am Rani Anand from Khalifa University. My question is to Dr. Batool. You talked about stale data. You didn't say stale data, but you said lack of fair research data. Like in European countries, they spent more than 10 million on not having the fair data. So what's the reason for not having the fair data?
Well, FAIR is not FAIR from English fair. FAIR is acronym for findable, interoperable, accessible, and so it's about having infrastructure to how to use data, about having a persistent identifier, about using repository for this, about using open license, how to make them more accessible. So a lot of the data that we use, we have probably in academia, or even like any data you collect by yourself in academia. You can collect it, you can keep it in your laptop, you cannot add, like you can also publish and not add it to any repository. However, that makes it so hard eventually for other people to come and reproduce the work that you've done and build in the top of it. So that's been a problem. But right now, a lot of the, I think, journals would ask for people who would publish as one of the conditions to add that data for certain repositories before publishing the paper. So this is like become one of the requirements right now. Yeah, again, so FAIR is a huge thing. I think it's a very recent actually concept that came, I think 2012, and it was mainly in data, but then it's been now applied in workflows, in education resources, and in a different sort of things. And it's a very interesting thing, because when we discuss data, we're not really speaking about making data open responsibly. We are actually asking about making it usable, making it accessible. So making it, when you add it to repository, you can add it privately. So like health data, you can't make it openly. That's irresponsible of you to make health data, for example, open. But you need to specify a way how people can eventually come and access. And that's not by contacting the authors, like what a lot of journalists say, like contact the author if you want to know more about this. This is not the case, because a lot of academics actually, they don't stay within the same institution. They move to other institutions. So, and it's not the responsibility for them academic or the PhD student or the postdoc to keep that data. It's the responsibility of the institution, it's the responsibility for other people's. And I think that's where a lot of the new infrastructure rule came to play in academia. We're not expecting postdoc and PhD student to be unicorn doing everything. There is a lot of new infrastructural rule, like data curator, research software engineer, people who data wranglers, a lot of rules that can help you, people who can help you and support you around these needs, rather than you actually doing all of that work yourself. Yeah.
Thank you, Batool. It's a good explanation for my question.
Anybody else? Just Renee. Yeah. Oh, sorry. She went that direction.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask the second presenter from Zayed University. I was particularly intrigued by the research data that you presented, but I'm very curious, what criterion did you use to select the publications that are open access? In other words, what sampling procedures did you use, and how did you validate the data? Can we make some inferences and make some conclusions based on your data to other regions? Thank you.
Actually, we took the data from the Scopus database and some analysis from the Cyworld also. So in Scopus, we will get the country-wise distribution of data. So we analyzed based on that, and open access, Scopus defined some open access models and categories. So gold open access and hybrid open access, green open access, and bronze open access. But of course, diamond open access is missing. So we fully depended on the Scopus data. We haven't analyzed other databases. That's the reason Yrjo mentioned at the beginning that we are at the initial stage. So we need to analyze the data from other sources also, probably from other index databases like Web of Science or Dimensions. And validating the data means so we have fully dependent on the Scopus, and we did the analysis based on that. And we have analyzed some other studies from across the world. So all those studies have almost same results that mainly regarding the hybrid open access models. So since hybrid open access journals are highly ranked, definitely they get more citations. This is validated like from other studies also. We have given links of those studies. Do you want to say something else, Yrjo?
No, just to add to that, as Nikesh mentioned, we are still in the early stages in this research. So Web of Science and Dimensions are other potential sources for this. And also, if we get the list of all the publications and the DOIs, we will use unpaywall to check the open access status. So that is also one good source.
Hi, over here. Hi, everyone. Sorry, there's an online question. Sorry.
Just
Hi.
rotating.
I'm hiding in the corner charging my laptop as I'm doing this, so I apologize. But we have a question from Yusuf Al Hassan for Dr. Batool, who says your speech was very useful. And he's wondering, how can normal people, so I guess not specialists, how can they benefit from open science? So the everyday person.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I don't think open science is just for academic. It's not just for policymakers. Again, when we speak about open science, we speak also about citizen science. And citizen science, this is like everyday person who's exploring life and collecting data and doing science, not through academia, not through institutions. Again, I think of open science also making that academic knowledge accessible and understandable for public, so public can actually contribute to the decision process that we have in academia. It's about bringing people who's actually outside that research cycle to the research methodology. I think public have a lot to offer, but we rarely have mechanisms that enable us actually to bring them in and bring them to the research cycle itself. Yeah, I don't know if that's answered that question.
That's an underlying question. So.
Go on.
That's okay. So we'll just
ahead.
move on. We've got some also questions here from the floor. Renee, you got the.
Yes. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for the valuable information that we get during this sessions. My question is to Zayed Group. I'm assuming that this has not been published yet. As you said, it's in progress. So if you're going to publish it, you are going green or hybrid, and why?
Yeah, that's a good, difficult question. Actually, in our university, we get support from for publishing it in gold open access, but first we need to pay the amount. So then they'll reimburse the amount. So we published another article 3 months ago, but we opted green open access since we didn't have money to spend from our pocket. So green open access, at least we can put that article in our repository. We have a very good institutional repository. So, and that's a very, that visibility is too much, like, it's well indexed in Google and Google Scholar and other indexed databases. So we are sure we would get through more visibility through our institutional repository, and we don't need to spend money. That's the reason we opted green open access. Okay, yeah.
Hi, thank you all for these interesting talks. And I have just one question for also for the group of Zayed University. I'm interested in data analysis, so I would like to know, you have your citations based on country wise, so it would be interesting if you add the number of researchers included. And also I didn't hear much about funding. So I saw the list, and I can estimate that funding is very important to open science. What's your reflection on that? Thank you.
Yeah, actually, the very purpose of this presentation is to getting suggestions from the group. This kind of forum would really help us to modify the study. We'll definitely that these are good suggestions. We will look into the funding aspect as well as the researchers. So thank you for the suggestion. So, so we are in the initial stages, as we mentioned earlier. So we will look into that and update our study. Thanks for the suggestion. Of course, yeah. Actually, our university, our director is here. So our university is working to
Online.
Yeah, provide support for the users at the beginning itself. So we don't need to spend money from our pocket. Then definitely we will go for the gold open access. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just moving on to some questions online for people waiting. So over to you for the question.
Yeah, Yusuf Al Hassan again to Dr. Batool again. Is there any difference between open access libraries and digital libraries? And if there are, could you elaborate?
I'm not a librarian, so you might ask a librarian would answer better than me. But if there's a question about repositories, so with a repository, there's some repository that does not offer persistent identifier or a way that you can cite or make the thing citable. Persistent identifier is like, you can think about it as ID. Even if the website has a change, you still can access using that persistent identifier. So a lot of repository does not offer that features, which make them not really fair, like not findable, accessible, interpretable, and reusable. And also the other factor that I would always look into it when I add or deposit any data is the open license. Open license is extremely important. When you add your data in the internet, it doesn't mean it's open unless you add an open license. So open license could be something like Creative Commons license. If you're using code, this could be MIT, GBT. There's different, depending on what sort of thing that you've been adding. And actually, when you publish papers, they alwax add you an open license, but most of the researchers don't know what sort of open license being used in their publication. And it depends on that open license. For example, CC BY, if you're familiar with it, it means anyone can reuse the material that you've actually published, but with attribution. When you use CC0, means anyone can use without actually attribution or without mentioning that they've taken it from you. So there's some licenses also that can inhibit, or if you don't want your product to be used commercially, you can also use some open license within Creative Commons that would not enable anyone to use your product commercially. So again, with data, adding your data to a repository, to an open access repository, does not mean that anyone can come and steal it. And it does not mean also that it's open unless you add an open license with it. Most of the repository would like have that feature immediately. They would assume mostly default CC BY, and then you can choose between different sort of open licenses. Hopefully that's answered the question.
Thank you. Just moving on, we have a question from thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for all the speakers. My question is for these two gentlemen, actually, about the data that you have presented regarding the open access data that you have collected from the countries. My question is to the data you have collected about Iraq. I don't know if the data you have collected about Iraq is accurate. You said you got it from Scopus. My understanding that in my part, Kurdistan region, we almost have about 42 scientific journals within the universities. Only one of them is pending to be Scopus indexed. So are you quite sure that the data you've collected from Scopus is accurate for Iraq? Thank you.
Actually, we haven't counted the first author. Probably your authors may collaborate with some other international authors. That also would be counted your Iraq University affiliation. So I assume that might be the reason, and I already mentioned that we fully dependent on the Scopus and Scival data. So I hope Scopus data is accurate because there are some curation. It's not automatically added to the Scopus. So since we fully dependent on Scopus, I don't have an answer for a definite answer for that. We believe in Scopus, and we will check in probably other databases also, like Web of Science, and we can validate, like, whether we are getting almost same kind of results. Anything?
Yeah, that's one of the known limitations of Scopus and Web of Science and dimensions, that unfortunately like content from this region and, for example, in Arabic language is not very well indexed in these databases. So it's an obvious limitation of this study. So that's why we want to look into other sources as well as we proceed.
Consideration. Even I'm afraid that even Scopus is not going to take the Kurdish language papers into consideration because there will be no citation at the end for that. Exactly. For this reason, this is why I ask if this is not accurate. I know that you have taken that from Scopus, but Scopus is going mainly the English language papers into consideration. Yeah. But more because our native language is Kurdish language, so mostly the researchers are going to publish their papers in Kurdish language or in Arabic language. But unfortunately, our part, which is the local language, native language, is not going to be considered. So the data is not going to be accurate.
Exactly. You are right. That's one of the limitations of Scopus. It indexes around 30,000 plus journals, and the Arabic and other regional language journals are not really covered. So that's one of the limitations. So since the citation data is available in Scopus and Web of Science and Dimension kind of databases, it's very difficult to get the citation data out of that, as Google Scholar is there. But to analyze from Google Scholar is a little bit difficult. So anyway, we will consider that regional language aspect also while we proceed our study. Thank you so much for mentioning that.